Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we are back with Saturday's analysis. Premium and Pro members have already been sent most of these already. I did include a video as well. I actually forgot to include the sound on that video, which was my bad. But I did include, thankfully, a little write-up underneath, or just the horses' names. And if you want to know why, you can obviously now listen to this video. I've made sure the sound is running. So let's start off looking at the 135 at Ascot tomorrow, which is a 7 furlong handicap. I did actually hope Fresh would be running in this. He's not, he's running in the 6. But I still think Fresh is going to go really, really close in that 6, and we'll come on to him shortly. But the horse that has therefore caught my eye in this 7 furlong race, caught my eye last week under Pat Cosgrave. It was Spangled Mac. Last week I highlighted at Chester the likes of Revich, who I think was well beaten. I also think I tweeted about it that if you were not at the front, you didn't get involved here. Only those that were towards the 4 really were able to get involved. Everything that was towards the back never got involved. And Spangled Mac was one of those. He was right out the back under Pat Cosgrave, and then actually ran on quite nicely. You know, finished as close as he possibly could under, under the circumstances. That came off a mark of 97, drops to 96, and then we're like, okay, is he good off 96? Is this a winnable mark? Well, actually, his last win at Newcastle back here on the all-weather actually came off 96. His last win on the turf came off 93, so he's about the right type of mark. And he has run well and performed at better levels than this. At Ascot, he's finished second at Ascot before, off 94. He finished 4th in the Buckingham Palace, off 95. So he's about the right type of mark. And then you have to go, is it as competitive as like a Buckingham Palace stakes? Well, that day, Witch Hunter won it. Witch Hunter's proven to be a proper group horse. Northern Express was 3rd off 97. That horse, as soon as it gets around that type of mark, it goes and wins. It's won recently off a mark of 102. So that horse that was in front, it was a good Buckingham Palace, albeit that was back in 2023, not this year. But I think that just demonstrates that Spangled Mac does run well at this track. Last time he ran here, they dropped him to 5. And he was never nearer. Stayed on late on, off 98. As I said, he's down to 96. He's dropped a couple of pounds. And he's back up to the trip that he actually wants. They've been messing about with his trip recently. 5s and 6s. After disappointing at Ascot at the end of season last year. I think it was actually in this race. Off 96, he went off the 4-1 favourite. They messed about with his trip after then. They returned over 5 at Newcastle, and because he won, I think they went, well, let's stick to sprint trips. It didn't work until he stepped back up in trip to 7 furlongs, where he ran a really good race behind Leaf or Levi, were Leafy and documenting at Newbury. And last time, I think we can forgive him that run, as in we can give him excuses as to why it didn't work. If it had been in a normal 7 furlong at Chester, as in there wasn't so much of a pace bias, I think he probably would have, finished in the places again. And the fact that the handicap has dropped him a pound down to 96, he's coming back to Ascot where he's run well before, Billy Loughnane taking over. I think there's plenty of positives there, to be honest. And I think he's very much overpriced tomorrow. If we have a look at Ascot 135, we can see that Spangled Mac is available at 16s and 14s. 16s in a couple of places, 14s in most. Just on the basis of last season, he ran off this mark, he went off 4-1 favourite. Straight away, he looks a bigger price than he should be. He finished 4th off a pound higher mark when there wasn't as much of a pace bias 2 runs ago. 16s is too big. I think Spangled Mac is definitely too big here, and I'm hopeful of a very, very, very big run here from Spangled Mac, and I think he's worth a bet in the first race at Ascot. We move on to the first race at Haydock. No, the second race at Haydock, the 150 at Haydock. And I've highlighted two for this race. I highlighted them at... Just having a look. They were 4s and 11-2 at the time. I can't split them, but I don't want to miss them. As I said well, I did say it in the video. Obviously, nobody heard it. If you back two in this race and you'd back them at 4s and 5s and one wins, you've got a 3-1 winner. And I honestly believe it's out of these two to win. One of them is Master Builder, who's now being very well supported. He was very eye-catching. He was one of our eye-catchers, wasn't he, at York, when he was third behind Table Talk and the Equator. He got beat by the right horses, and he was very unlucky in that he stayed on, didn't get the clearest of runs at all, stayed on really strongly. I kind of hoped they would step him up in trip, but they're coming out relatively quickly. 2 weeks later, William Buick on board, so David Menuzier's booked Sylvester de Souza and William Buick, last two jockeys for this horse. He knows that the horse is ahead of its mark, even off that £3 higher mark of 88, and he wants a good jockey on to give him every chance of finding a win there. Master Builder, if you're not already on him, I think he is still just about at 11-4 worthy of a bet, because, as I said, even if you got 5-2 and he won, and Hutchins lost, who's going to be our other one, it's still a 6-4 winner. And as I said, I'd be really surprised if one of these two didn't win. The second horse that I do want to therefore talk about, and it's going to be my other selection in this race, is Hutchins, who has the visor on. We backed him last time, really well supported, went and won at Newbury. Only just got up in the last few strides. That's why I think the visor's on, to make him concentrate earlier on in the race and to get going earlier, because he's going to need to be at his best to beat Master Builder. However, I do think there's plenty more to come from him. I did say at Newbury I would have liked to have seen him over 1.6 miles then, because I'd have been even more confident of him at Newbury. He's now up to 1.6 miles, so you can't ignore it. I can't, I literally could not ignore him, having got the step up in trip that I asked for. The visor is on. The Valmont horses generally, they seem to be purchasing horses that they start them off over 7 and a mile. They then win over 1.2 miles, 1.4 miles, 1.6 miles, and they keep going. They're doing a very, very good job with their placement of their horses. So yeah, Hutchins is the other one in the race. He's available at 5s. Obviously, if you back them both, we'd prefer Hutchins to win. You may want to think about doing a reverse forecast as well. I do think they will be the two to beat in that race. Moving on to the 205 at Thirsk. Now, not the 205 at Thirsk. That is not the one I want. It is... Actually, it might be the 205 at Thirsk. It is the 205 at Thirsk, sorry. I think there's a horse in this race that they've got the handicap mark wrong. I really do. The forecast price as well. Let's just see if we've got anything here yet. The forecast price for this horse is 5s. That's mental. It's Bella Love. Bella Love, I think, I'm really confident that they've got the handicap mark wrong here. So, Bella Love started off finishing second at Wetherby, then finished third at Thirsk, second at Thirsk, and then second last time out at Beverley. The handicapper gave, going into that maiden race at Beverley, a mark of 72, and then dropped £2 for being beaten by Lord Roxby. I think that was a little bit unfair. Lord Roxby had finished second on debut, and then probably improved for that run. Nothing wrong with that run for me. Second to Mademoiselle, beaten a length and a half. Well, Mademoiselle is now rated 83, having won another novice race next time out, beating Nightbird, is rated 83. So on that running alone, they carried level weights. Bella Love wasn't beaten that far by Mademoiselle, and is now would be getting £13 in a nursery. I think that's mental. I think that's completely wrong. I don't think Bella Love is that bad at all. Even if we look at the run before that, third to Alpha Magic. Alpha Magic's not come back out. American Style has the runner-up, and that's now rated 78, or rated 76, sorry, was last seen running in the yearling stakes, the super lucrative yearling stakes, and only went off 16-1 for that day. I mean, how Bella Love has only got 70, I really don't understand. And if the forecast price is anything near, it's way overpriced for me. Bella Love, I think she's going to take all of the beating now into nurseries. I think she's high 70s, and she can run off 70 here. I think she's the one to beat in this race. And to be honest, I think anything above like 2-1, really, I think she's got to be favourite. Got to be favourite, in my opinion. And if she's not, I think they've got the price wrong. And if she's above 2-1, I think they've got the price wrong. So yeah, Bella Love in that nursery, the 205 at Thirsk, is one I definitely want to be looking at as soon as the odds become available. Moving on to the Old Borough Cup at Haydock. Who do I like here? Well, we're going to stick with one of our horses that we've backed before, and that is Knightswood. I believe Knightswood would have won at Goodwood with a clear run, over 1 mile and 6, would have beaten Align the Stars, Fairbanks, Great Bedouin and Yukon Glen. So, on that basis, I'm ruling Yukon Glen out, because I think Yukon Glen probably ran to his best that he can do now, which is 92 and 4th place. Knightswood ran off 88. I think he should have won that race. I think he should have gone up to about 95 sort of mark. Knightswood is still rated 88 because didn't get a clear run that day, and then ran moderately at York. Didn't run terribly at all though. Still finished 7th of 16. Wasn't beaten that far. Actually moved into it quite nicely. But the Johnstons, as somebody previously mentioned on our video, do have a terrible record at York. They are better here. I kind of feel the right horses were in front of Knightswood that day. The horse behind, Spirit Mix, has obviously come out and won at Chester since. I think I don't actually think it was a bad race in the end that Knightswood ran. He's back to the 1 mile 6. He's at a course now that Charlie Johnston and the Johnstons do a little bit better at. I don't see any reason why he doesn't run a really big race here. I would have liked to have seen Tritonic in this. I think Tritonic would have taken all of the beating. He's not, so we've just got Knightswood, and Knightswood is currently available at 8-1. Was available at 9s when I did my previous analysis, but has already shortened to 8s, and that's the only one I want in that race. That is Knightswood. We're then going to the all-weather. We've got a couple of series finals, and we're starting off with the 1 mile final, the London Mile Series final. And the horse that I think is overpriced here is last year's winner, Helm Rock. Where is he? There he is. Last year's winner, Helm Rock. Helm Rock actually won this last year off 94. Went off 92 that day and beat Cathab to win it. Cathab was the 7-2 favourite. Now, Helm Rock this year is £8 lower. Significantly bigger price, if we have a look. What is he? 12s. And then you go, yeah, but he's out of form. Can we forgive him some of those runs? Well, first of all, tomorrow he's running on the all-weather. Can we look at some of his runs on the all-weather? Yes, we can. We can look at a Newcastle run. He finished 7th of 12 at Newcastle, off 96. A £10 higher mark. He went up 8.5 to 1 that day, 17 to 2. Off a £10 higher mark. Has he been to the all-weather since then? Yes, he has. He finished 8th in a racing league race over 1.5 miles a furlong. Only beaten 3 lengths. Didn't get a clear run. That came off a 92. As I said, he's only running off 86 now. If he'd got a clear run that day off 92, he would have finished much closer. You know, he was only beaten 3 lengths as it was. If he got that clear run, say he got beat by 1.5 lengths, he gets beat by 1.5 lengths, and then he ends up £6 lower for a race that he's won just 2 runs later, or 3 runs later. Yeah, I think he's way overpriced here, and I don't get the price, to be honest. He won it last year. He was off a lower mark. He beat the favourite, so he probably beat the right horse. I believe Cathar was actually our top rated horse that day, so the form of the race should work out well. And yeah, I think Helm Rock is very much overpriced here. Doesn't need to go forward. The jockey can drop him in, so the poor draw isn't ideal from 13. But it does mean that he can simply just move in behind and track a few, rather than, he doesn't need to blast out and try and get to the front. That's not him. So yeah, I'm hoping for a really big run here from the Pat Cosgrave ridden Helm Rock at a big price, I think. We then move on to the 350 at Thirsk, and the horse that I like here is the good old 10-year-old Dakota Gold. I think he's down to a mark that he can start to get involved in these types of races, and especially this class of race, Class 3. He's running off 90 now. Obviously, he's previously been as high as 111, so he's dropped significantly in the handicap. But it was only 3 runs ago that he ran well. He actually won at Redcar off 86. He then finished second at Ripon off 90. And then they dropped him back down to 5. That didn't suit. Wasn't quick enough for 5 furlongs. Now, back up to 6 off the same mark as when he was second. Beaten a length and a half behind Marine Wave and Mr. Wagyu. In front of Mr. Wagyu. And in front of Aberama Gold. That was in a Class 2. I think they were better horses that day. Well, they were better horses that day. He takes on lesser rivals. He's off the same mark. And I actually don't mind those 2 horses around him, Marine Wave and Mr. Wagyu. I think were nicely handicapped anyway. Marine Wave has come out and won again off 98 and is now rated 104. So when Dakota Gold got beat by Marine Wave off 91 and Brandon was taking 5 off, so it's essentially Marine Wave was essentially running off 86 and is now rated 104. Dakota Gold had no chance. He was never going to beat an improver such as Marine Wave. Is there an improver in this race? I don't think so. I mean, we've got a couple of 3-year-olds that could throw their head into the mix, but I mean, I kind of feel that we know a lot about all of them. Even Mukafa, I don't really like him, to be honest. I don't think he's got a huge amount of progression in him, whereas Dakota Gold off his 90 mark should be able to go really close. He's won here before as well at Thirsk. Just having a look on my other screen, the last time he ran here, it was a long time ago, obviously, because he's finished 3rd of 91 behind Musica in a Class 3. Obviously, Musica was better than a Class 3 horse, wasn't he? And he finished 3rd off 99. He's only running off 90 this time. And he'd won off 79, so, he was expected to win off 79, wasn't he? Yeah, Dakota Gold, if he's not favourite, well, even if he is favourite, if you can get anything above 5-2, I think Dakota Gold is... I think he's a great bet in this race, even at the age of 10. Moving back to Ascot for the 355, and we're going to do something like we did in the first race at Ascot. We are going to have 2 in this race. No, sorry, it was the first race at Haydock that we had 2. We're going to have 2 in this race as well, the 355, and they are going to be Fresh and Rohan. I can't split them. I think they're both going to take all of the beating. I think we've just got prices appear for them, which is good. Let's just have a look at what they are so everyone can see. 355. And I think I'll be doing a reverse forecast in this race as well. Rohan and Fresh. Why the pair of them? So Fresh, I think, is in good form. He's actually been running quite well this season. He was 5th at Haydock. He was 7th at Royal Ascot. Didn't get a clear run that day. He then came back to Ascot over 6 and got beat by Giraffe. Well, Giraffe is very unexposed. He only had the 3 runs or something at that point. He come into it off the back of 3 runs. He's since won again at Ascot of 95. He's now rated 104. So he's actually rated £17 higher than when he beat Fresh. Fresh is rated £2 higher. if they, even if they took each other on again, you would think Fresh would certainly serve it up to Giraffe. Giraffe was just incredibly well handicapped that day. Fresh then went to Ascot, came back recently over 7, ran a good race, just lost out behind Northern Express and New Image in a very good handicap. A better handicap than what he's running in here. No issues with Fresh whatsoever. I think he's going to run a huge race off 93. But he does have a big danger in the one that they've actually priced up as favourite, which is Rohan. Why is Rohan favourite? Well, his last 4 wins have actually all come up the track. He's won off 102, beating English Oak. He's won off 113 in the Group 3, beating Summergand. He won off 109 in the Wokingham. And he won off 112 in the Wokingham. He runs off 96. I mean, this is obvious for Rohan. 6 furlongs at Ascot. The last time he ran here, he was actually running in a Group 1. The last time he ran in a 6 furlong race at Ascot. The time before that, he won, beating English Oak. And obviously, English Oak was rated 89 at the time. English Oak is now rated 108. And Rohan was rated 102 at the time. Rohan is now rated 96. It looks obvious. And it's a shame that we've got 2 horses in this same race that are so well handicapped and so well positioned for this race. Both of them are one of them's going to be very disappointed. But I'd be so surprised if one of them doesn't win. And I'd be very disappointed, to be honest, if they don't finish first and second in this race. So we'll wait to see a bit. Hopefully, if we can get 3s about Rohan, that gives us a 2-1 winner if one of them wins. And if we can get 4s about Fresh, that'll give us 3-1 and 2-1 for winners. And I'd be more than happy with that. Moving on to the 4:20 at Kempton. So back to Kempton for the all-weather. For the Sprint Series final. Who do I like here? I'm hoping that I've spotted a bit of a plan. Intervention. Why do I like Intervention? So, Intervention was last seen at Kempton, running off a mark of 92, finishing second to Ferris. Okay? So if we just go purely on that, let's have a look at Kempton. It's the 4:20. Okay. Finishing second to Ferris. Well, they've actually opened Ferris up at 92 second favourite. So, say it finished a place behind, that had finished third. Intervention's double the price. But Ferris is actually rated 95 now, so is +5 from their runs that day. Intervention is rated 84, -8. So there's a £13 swing for that run when Ferris beat Intervention. Straight away, I think that should make them significantly closer in the betting. If we then look at Intervention, where has he been since then? So we're wanting him to run tomorrow over 6 furlongs on the all-weather. After running at Kempton, he went to Southall. Not really like Kempton, to be honest. He then went to York, Windsor, Epsom, York, Doncaster, Wolverhampton for a Racing League race. Over 6 when I don't think he got the best of rides. He was a little bit keen that day. He still ran okay for 6th off 85. As I said, he's dropped another pound to 84. And then he went back to the turf for more races of this Racing League rubbish. And he ran okay. I mean, even last time out at Windsor, he ran okay. He was only beaten 3/4 of a length off this mark. But we know he can run well at Kempton. And I think they saw that. They saw him run well at Kempton, finishing second to Ferris, and went, that's our long-term plan. And they planned this final, and they've got here off an £8 lower mark, and £13 better off with Ferris, who's been opened at 9-2. I think Intervention is a huge price. Harry Davis is actually riding really well at the moment. He has ridden 4 winners in his last 7 rides. A couple of places in there as well. Disappointing one was on Juba when finishing 6th of 9th at 40-1. Otherwise, he's gone really well. He's even won on a Goodwood on the 3rd of September at 20-1 for James Fanshawe. See, Harry Davis is riding really well at the moment. And I think this has been a little bit of a plan here from the horse watchers and Mick Appleby to come back and win this race after they saw how well he ran back in April in the qualifier. They've not been back since. They've not shown their hand at all. I think Intervention is bigger than he should be. Yeah, I think he's bigger than he should be. If we can get 10s and 11s and 12s, I'll be delighted with that. We keep going. A couple more that I want to talk about. Go back to Ascot. We're going to end up... the last two are both at Ascot. Start off in a 4:30. And she's very frustrating. But she's got her chance now. Roya. That horse. This one here. If she's going to go close, this has got to be it. Some of her runs even have been pretty decent. Even a fourth behind Doha. That wasn't a bad run considering Doha then has since gone for a Group 3 and a Group 1. I mean, finishing fourth wasn't a bad run at Ascot over the mile trip. Then went up in trip to Chelmsford. Didn't run great next time out, but then did bounce back at Goodwood when finishing third behind Paradies and Native Warrior. When not getting a clear run, the handicapper left her alone on 87. I kind of feel that this is a bit of an easier race than what she has been running in. Despite it being actually a class higher, I kind of feel that these are a little bit more exposed than some of those that she's been taking on. And this is the time I want to give her one chance here. So I've luckily not been on her this season. If there's a time to get her, I think it might be tomorrow. Roya at Ascot, because I think they're slightly more exposed. I think she's going to run well. She now has Richard Kingscote will know she will stay, having been running over a bit further. She didn't run badly at Ascot. I think there's plenty to like about the form and the conditions tomorrow for her. And finally, the last one I want to talk about, I can tell you, is actually our bottom-rated horse on the day. But that's because the horse comes into it off the back of woeful form. Fantastic. Thanks very much, Odds Checker. Let's just load up another one. Maha. Unlucky Odds Checker. Bottom-rated, you can see they've opened it up at 16s at the moment. To be honest, I'm quite happy with 16 to 1 about the big board. Let me tell you why. So, the big board is a course and distance winner. Has won over this 5 furlong trip at Ascot last season off 92. Runs tomorrow off 83. And Joe Levy takes another £3 off. So, effectively runs off 80. £12 lower than when beating Badri, who runs in this race. Badri was running off 100 that day, is now running off 90, so is lower in the weights. They're about the same. The big board won. Whoops. I don't know if you can see that. My window's just crashed. This one here. Badri's 10s, the big board is 16s. I would have it the other way round. And I think the big board has run some good races recently. Back over 5 2 runs ago, finished second, only beaten a short head by Alcazan. That came off a mark of 81, although up to 83 now. Joe Levy taking that 3 off effectively means it's running back off 80. And I think Ascot is just the place where the horse runs well. Over 5. Did try and go last year off 96, only went off 5 to 1 for the Whispering Angel last season off 96. Didn't run great, prominent, weakened, well beaten under Ashim Murphy. But as I said, that came off at 96, went off 5 to 1. And then has been to Ascot once since then over 5 furlongs and finished second off 81. So he's down to a mark that he can get involved in these 5 furlong handicaps. 96 was too high, was able to win off 92. 81 was good, didn't unfortunately get past Alcazan, who pretty much made most of the running that day. But Alcazan, even came out of that race, went to Brighton and went and won the Brighton Bullet, off a £4 higher mark. Joe Levy took £5 off that day, and Joe might well have come back in and gone, wow, the big board was unlucky not to beat us last time. As I said, the horse won off 69 is now 77. So what's that? £8. Whereas the runner-up is just £2 higher. Well, if we went purely on that, you have to say that the big board will run a really big race here. And at the prices, the 16s, I think that's a great price about the big board tomorrow. So, a quick recap. I like Spangled Mac in the first at Ascot. Was unlucky last week. 2 runs ago, ran a perfectly respectable race. Looks overpriced at 14s. At Haydock, Hutchins and Master Builder, I think, will finish first and second. I am backing them, or have backed them both. And if I get one of them to win, that's great. Ideally, we'd like it to be Hutchins, just because it's a slightly bigger price. At Thirsk, I think they've got the handicap mark wrong of Bella Love, so I'll be keeping an eye out for the prices for Bella Love. Back at Haydock, I like Knightswood. Back over this 1 mile 6 trip. If he can show his Goodwood form, he will run a huge race. Currently available at 8s. At Kempton, Helm Rock, I think, is overpriced at 12s. Won it last year off a £8 higher mark. Don't see why he's such a big price. At Thirsk, in the 6 furlong handicap, Dakota Gold down to a mark that he can actually go well off, especially in this grade. To Ascot, I like both Rohan and Fresh. I've backed them both. I'm also going to do them in a reverse forecast, because I do think they are 2 incredibly well handicapped horses that have both ran in the same race, unfortunately. In the series final, the sprint series final, Intervention, I think this might have been a plan since finishing second to Ferris in the qualifier. At Ascot, this is the time to get Rowe. This is her chance. If she's going to win a race soon, I think this is it. And finally, the big board, I think, is definitely overpriced in that last race, considering his form over 5 furlongs at Ascot is very, very good. So thanks for listening. Hopefully I've got a few winners for you there. And best of luck with your selections.